I'm Jenny Block, author of Be That Unicorn. I have to tell you how thrilled I am to be here and how grateful I am that all of you decided to be here today too. I have to tell you, even though we've been doing this whole virtual thing for a couple of months now, it's still weird, isn't it? I don't know about you, but for me, doing certain things are always connected to sensory things. So for example, speaking to a group like you, for me would be about the sound of my heels clicking as I walk onto stage. That's sort of how, I know, okay, we're getting ready, now we're gonna start. And now there's no heel clicking. I mean, there's nothing really in some ways. I mean, if you could see where I am right now in my little study, I mean, you can see a little bit of it here, and all of you are, well, wherever all of you are. And somehow still, we're all trying to act, what do we call it? Normal. Like we're pretending while we're on screen, our heads don't itch, or our dogs aren't at our feet, or our kids aren't screaming outside the door. It's just all so strange. We have all these systems in place for ourselves, and suddenly it's like, sorry, can't do it that way anymore. But, I've been thinking about something. I've been thinking about what if instead of saying we can't do that anymore, we can say we don't have to do that anymore. Think about that for a minute. It's kind of magical, right? I don't have to do that. I don't have to put on high heels. I don't have to walk out on stage in a certain way. I don't have to do anything really other than, well, be authentically me, right? So in some ways, it's all about perspective and permission. And that's exactly what I'm hoping I can give you today. Perspective and permission in the face of change. When I first got asked to give this keynote, I couldn't help but think if all of you were thinking, what's happening? Did the organization I belong to somehow change? Am I no longer working with senior living communities? Am I no longer working in the hotel industry? Why on earth are we going to be talking about Be That Unicorn? I mean, I myself would be thinking, yikes, I'm going to log into this keynote workshop presentation thing, whatever, and there's probably going to be some crazy lady sitting in front of me, and she's going to be talking about prancing and wearing your unicorn horn and how to use that horn and how to support other people and how to prance through life. And then all of a sudden I thought to myself, as crazy as all of that sounds to you, that was exactly how crazy it sounded to me when I first came up with the idea for this book. But the more that I thought about it, in the outside world, especially now, there's so much confusion and anxiety and hate and division and, just sort of general, what the heck is going on right now, that there really isn't anything we need more right now than to slow down, than to change our perspective, than to give ourselves permission to do things a little differently. And so I asked myself, what would doing that look like? What would things look like if I chose to be that unicorn? Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let me start from the start. Who am I? Good question. I'm Jenny Block. I am a writer and an author. I grew up outside of Baltimore, Maryland. I went to college to be in mass communications because I didn't want to be a teacher like my mom. Remember being 18? And then I ended up somehow in the English department anyway. And I was a college professor. I taught writing. And somewhere along the line, someone said to me, what do you write? And I thought, nothing. I don't write anything. I don't write anything at all. I write to my students about their papers. So I went to a writing conference and I met someone there who told me that I should choose on that day to make sure that I didn't leave without getting an assignment. And I thought, what on earth does that mean? Well, I'm not even a writer yet, but I decided to take that on as a challenge. And I met an editor of a magazine, and I sort of cornered him, for lack of a better word. And I said, I want to write for you. And after 3 no's, I got a yes. And that was my first article. It was for Virginia Horse Quarterly. Yes, there is a Virginia Horse Quarterly. And I wrote an article about going on a trail ride, which turned out to be nothing more than a ring ride with a bunch of friends. And from that point on, I realized that I love to tell stories. So I kept writing, and I became a travel writer and a food writer. And I just found that no matter what the topic was, I was always writing about my experiences with that topic. So instead of just writing about, the food that's served somewhere, I was talking about the chef and meeting that chef and what the experience was of being there. And I was doing my best to follow advice that my father had given me from when I was very little, which was to just put myself in the place of whatever I was doing and just swim in it. And then as a writer, I was sharing that swim.